Welcome back to the Wizzy Weight Room, y'all. Yeah, this is episode 10, and we're gonna do another one. Here comes my guest, Hecubus. He's the best. That's stress, no stress. Yeah, that's the best.
Bars.
I'm in the studio, solo. How low can you go?
So, real talk, we're going to have on a guest today for episode...
Hecubus!
Oh my God. Mic drop, literally.
Literal mic drop.
I know you're not on the phone yet, but you literally had a mic drop for you. I can't wait to tell him this. Rodcaster? Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can hear you. We had some technical difficulties.
Can you
Did you
tell we're
forget to hit the
newbies?
red? Did you forget to hit the red button?
The green one, yeah.
Oh, the green one. Okay, yeah. I knew it was one or the other. Because you guys are using a Roadcaster, right?
Yeah.
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 Hecubus, I have to
I've done that
tell
many a
you,
time.
we were introducing you before you were on the phone, and Daniel's mic literally dropped. That's how big of a guest you are. A mic drop.
It fell out of the holder just for you.
Oh, so amazing. So amazing. All the way from the high Cascade Mountain Range, and here I am making waves.
Making waves.
Yeah. So it's 10 o'clock our time, so it's 7 o'clock your time, right?
Yes, it is.
Wow.
Well, thank you for waking up and doing this with us.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, it's all good. I have a 2-month-old, so,
So you've
I was
been awake.
So you've been awake for about 4 hours already? Perfect.
Maybe you never went to sleep
Yeah.
even.
Exactly. Something like that. Well, you know how it is. Things are always going. The mind's always going, so...
Definitely, definitely. Did you happen to listen to? Oh my gosh!
We're having technical difficulties. The mic will not
I don't know
stay
why
in
my
today.
mic won't stay up. But yeah, the pump station.
Hold on.
We just got off the
Yeah.
pump station.
Yeah, I've listened to it quite often, actually. Probably at least 2 or 3 times so far this week, give or take. I think
Wow.
it's 3 times.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I lose track, but because I get up in the morning because I have to be at work by 8, and so I a lot of times will have it on while I'm running around the house and stuff. So.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Running around, so you're really getting the pump in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I gotta do all the things so I don't mess up my arm again like I did before.
What
did
happened
you
with
do?
that?
It was so I hyperextended it from trying to move something that was far too heavy for me to try and move by myself.
That sounds painful. I've never hyperextended anything, but it always freaks me out when I see somebody's knee go the other way.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened. I was moving a treadmill down some stairs, and I thought I had it on one of the steps, and so I went to move my footing down to the next step, and it actually was sitting on my foot, not the footing. So as soon as I lifted my leg, the whole thing slid forward, and I landed with all my weight like on the palm of my right hand. So,
God, that sounds bad.
yeah.
That sounds terrible, yeah.
Whew. That's not a good
Yeah,
way
it
to
even
start
made one
the
of those
day.
sounds.
When you knew you had messed up,
That's,
yeah.
you know,
That moment right before the pain happens, where you're like, "Oh no!"
it's about to happen. No.
So, we're on
Yeah.
episode 10, Hecubus, of our podcast, so you get to be our first guest in the double digits.
Oh man, multiple mic drops, and double digits. I'm telling you, this is amazing.
I know, I'm telling you, it's a special guest or something like that. So, do you want to just open it up by just telling us a little bit about yourself?
I'm basically a jack of all trades, really. I've done a lot in career-wise as far as different things, but served some time in the military, got into hospitality after that, and did bartending, serving, managing, all that kind of stuff, and then took a right turn most recently, or slightly recently, and became a marketing director for GeoRipper. But the office is like an hour and a half away from where I live, so about a year ago I decided that was not feasible anymore. So started landscaping, which I've been doing pretty much all my life on the side, but now I'm doing it full time. So, and then of course the radio show.
Nice.
Yes,
Sounds like
Hecubus has his own what's it, segment?
Like a show.
Show, yeah.
on Turf's Up
on
Radio.
Turf's Up Radio. So we promoted our show last episode, so we'll promote yours.
So what kind of got you into the military? You know, was it a family thing? Was it a personal thing?
So it was. That's a good question. So, a lot of my family, a majority of my family members have been in the military. So, I mean, I definitely was around it. My dad was in the Air Force for like 15 years, 16 years. And so growing up, we moved around to bases and things like that. But the true reason why I joined the military, the thing that actually got it going, was a pair of socks. And I know that sounds weird.
Sounds like Forrest Gump.
So it's just about. So I was in high school. I was like the total rebel. Like I had 17 or 18 piercings between my ears and my nose. Like I had a bunch on both ears, and I had like the whole chain that went from one ear to the nose, across the nose, and then over to the other ear, type of thing. You know, that whole deal. Yeah. And then bright colored hair down to my chest, like all the colors of the rainbow, skater punk type scenario. Wow. The reason I mention all that stuff is because I was totally like anti-military.
Yeah.
and just, you know, all those kind of things that you do. And when you're trying to figure out who you want to be or whatever. And my dad, I was getting in my senior year, I started getting all those postcards and things like that the recruiters would send out saying, hey, for a free Navy shirt, you know, fill out your information and we'll send you a free shirt thing. I don't know if they still do that, but they were doing that back when I was in high school.
Wow.
And one of the ones was a pair of tube socks, like knee-high tube socks, that said Army down the side of them. My dad, unbeknownst to me, filled out a card and sent it in as a joke. So I got home one day and he said, hey, a package came for you. And I opened it up and I was like, Army socks? How would I get Army? And I looked at him and I was like, no, you did not. So sure enough, the next day I got a phone call from a recruiter. And he was the most amazing recruiter ever because he started off with asking about, he had just been to my high school the week before. And he said, well, I was at your high school. And I said, oh yeah, I saw you. I was in your class. I was in the class. And he goes, oh, which one were you? Do I remember you? And I said, the one least likely to join the military. And he's like, oh, purple hair, right?
Oh my God. That's funny.
And so then he transitioned beautifully into, well, you know, I'd love for you to come out and take the ASVABs because I know that you haven't taken the ASVABs yet, which is, you know, the testing for the military to find out what you can apply for. And I said, oh yeah, no, I'm not interested in that. And he goes, well, tell you what, if you come out with me, you get a day off of school and I'll take you out to lunch too. And I was like, sold.
There you go.
Yeah, that's
good salesman right there.
So then fast forward through that, and I ended up taking the class, and I signed up taking the test, and I signed up for the military that day.
Wow, that day even.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
That's nuts to make a full 180 on the same day. You said not interested. I mean, he should have been selling for a Fortune 500. He turned it into a yes in one day.
And the crazy part about it is that I had no idea what job I was doing, and that's why I signed up, which is kind of even weirder to me now that I think about it, now that I'm saying that out loud. I've never actually talked about it that way. Yeah, because they gave me a list of jobs that I could do, and at the time, I was planning on leaving. After I got out of high school, I was planning on becoming a mortician.
Really?
And so I was going to go to school. There's a college not far from here in the Gorge that is one of the top schools for morticians. And so that was my plan. And so so when I went to the military, I was like, well, hey, I can do the same thing, right? I can do graves registration is what they call it in the military. And they're like, no, you need to do something different. Like that. I mean, you could do that if you want to, but you're not going to leave for at least 9 months because that's the next opening. And we don't think you'd really want to do that one. You know, all the things that they do to get you into a different job. And so they gave me a list of jobs, and one said psychological operations specialist. And I asked him what it was, and he didn't know. So then he went to the guy at the desk next to him and asked him. He didn't know either. So they looked it up in their book, and it said, literally, perform psychological operations. That's all it said. All the rest of them had paragraphs.
That sounds like some spooky CIA stuff or something.
And so I looked him dead in the eye and said, I want that.
That sounds wild.
Yeah. So I had no idea. Like, even through basic training, all the drill sergeants were always asking everybody what MOS they were, and every time I said mine, they had no idea what I was doing. And I was like, does anyone know what I'm doing?
Do I know what I'm doing?
Just get to make it up as you go. Oh my gosh.
So yeah. So that's how that journey began.
That's pretty crazy. So what? I mean, I'm interested. What is that? Like, what did you end up doing?
So PsyOps is It's the MOS itself is 37 stocks, and it's psychological operations specialist on paper. Most people refer to it as psychological warfare because it makes more sense. Sometimes if you say psychological operations, people think like clinical, like you're a doctor or something,
I'm
which I'm not.
Like surgery, operation surgery, like
You're a brain surgeon.
Yeah, like I am not a doctor by any means whatsoever. So I don't want anyone thinking that. No, it's psychological warfare. So it's messing with people's minds. Basically, our mission was win the mind, win the day was our motto.
Wow.
So there's a few different kind of in a nutshell. There's a few different aspects to it. There's the tactical side and the strategic side. So tactical side, you carry a loudspeaker pack on your back in place of a rucksack. Well, I mean, basically it takes over your rucksack.
Wow. And
then you go out to, for instance, if there's an enemy position moving somewhere and you want them to, if you want to try and ambush them, you get to hop your happy butt out into the middle of nowhere, be it jungle, desert, whatever, and you start broadcasting sounds like tank sounds, Humvee sounds, troop movement sounds, like voices and stuff, which gets the enemy obviously to come towards you. And the idea is hopefully by the time that they get to you, the good guys have ambushed them, hopefully.
Dang.
Wow, so you got to play mind games almost.
That was...
Yeah, and then you do other stuff like keeping them up with, playing rock music, like some people have heard about it, playing rock music and stuff like that, all night, or the sounds of women screaming.
I've heard, actually, I think I've heard of that, but I've never heard of the...
To keep them awake so that way they can't sleep at all,
Yeah.
So that you wear them down. Wear them down. And kind of like a Tokyo Rose scenario from Vietnam where they used to, broadcast the troops. Same thing, basically,
Right. Oh my goodness.
Just trying to get them to give up, hopefully give up peacefully so that there's no bloodshed. I mean, that's obviously the goal for the most part. But then the other side was the strategic side where you had, that's where we did leaflet bombs, where you would pack like a bomb that an F-16 would carry, a 500-pound bomb. You pack it with leaflets instead of whatever they pack those things with. and it drops, and then at a certain altitude, it explodes in half, and all the leaflets go down. Same thing you can do with from a helicopter where you invert a cardboard box, and then you throw it out on a tether line, and as soon as it hits the resistance of the wind, it flips inside out, and all the leaflets fly out of it. And those ones are more of a, hey, we're coming through this area, please leave because we don't want anyone hurt sort of scenario. Or it can be over enemy troop positions where it's, hey, bring this to the nearest location and you will be, you will not be harmed, yada, yada, those sort of things.
Yeah.
So, and then broadcasts, news broadcasts, TV broadcasts, the kind of the idea of it would be that, for instance, picture you wake up in the morning to a loud boom, you look out your window and you see troops parachuting from the sky. So automatically you grab your phone, you look at your phone, and there's a broadcast happening where it's like a, emergency broadcast sort of scenario where it says, please stay inside your home. You run, you turn on your TV, the same thing is there. And then you turn on your radio, the same thing is happening there with a voice you've never heard before telling you what's happening. That's what we did.
Wow.
I had no idea about any of that. That's very interesting.
Yeah, sounds pretty frightening just thinking about messing with somebody's mind like that. But obviously it's effective,
Yeah, it's a force multiplier. So.
What kind of, this is kind of off on a separate tangent, but I'm kind of interested of like, what kind of like, after your basic training, like what kind of training did you have to go in to do for that?
Yeah, so I went to basic training in Fort Jackson, South Carolina. Just, regular basic training like anybody else does there anyway. And then directly after that went to AIT, which is the advanced training for, the Army. It's just what they call the after school that you do for your actual job. Excuse me. And that was at Fort Bragg, which is weird because it's the only MOS in the entire Army that has their AIT at Fort Bragg. So you still have and when I say AIT, it means you still have a drill sergeant, running your butt off doing all the other things. It's just that there's more, specialized training involved with whatever your specific job is. But they're still marching you around, calling cadence, all the other things. The reason it makes it weird for Bragg is because we were the only one on Bragg that had AIT there. And so everyone's staring at you every time you go somewhere, like, what the hell is going on? Because they've all been through AIT and basic, and they're, doing their job. And it's the home of the 82nd Airborne and Special Operations Command. That's why, because we're part of, PSYOPs is part of the Special Operations Command. And so, like Rangers and SF and everything else. And so they had our training there because there was only, at any given time, there's only about 400 active duty PSYOPers anywhere in the world. So so they kept us there because the very next step was to go to language school. So I spent, how long was it? And I can't remember now how long it was in AIT. I want to say it was like 9 months in AIT, and then there's another 15 months of language school. And language school was Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. So it was 9 hours a day, whatever it was, well, a lunch. So 8 hours a day, 5 days a week of language. So, picture your high school language class, but doing it 8 hours a day, 5 days a week.
Wow.
Yeah.
What were you like learning about in that? Just different?
I learned Arabic. That was my language that chosen. So when I did my testing for the military, I did the ASVAB, which is the basic standardized testing. And then when I chose to do PSYOPs, they sent me to do another test, which was a language proficiency test. So they test you on how proficient they think you can be in a language, and then they give you a choice of languages from there. So, like, for instance, Spanish and French are Category 2 languages. Arabic is a Category 4 language. And then so everything in between, there's like Chinese, Japanese, and Chinese, Japanese, and Arabic are the only Category 4 languages. Everything else is between a 2 and a 3 as far as learning. And 1 and a 3. Spanish and French are Category 1. I said Category 2.
Huh.
But anyway, so
never heard that.
So I learned. I chose. They gave me a choice of any language basically, and I chose Arabic. So that's what I went to school for. So I learned to speak, read, write, all the other things.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I mean, did it stick, and do you still could you still, not necessarily the whole thing, but have a little work with it? Yeah,
no, absolutely. I mean, I'm still conversational with it. I definitely am not fluent with it anymore. Just there's not a lot of people out here in the Cascade Mountain Range that speak Arabic. So
yeah.
And when the time I transitioned out, I mean, I got out in 2003, and so there was internet, but there wasn't a lot of foreign language chat groups or things like that they have nowadays, specifically for learning languages. So I try and keep up with it as much as I can. I still read newspapers from overseas, from the Middle East and things like that to try and keep up the aptitude and stuff. But
that's pretty cool.
But yeah, it's definitely a use it or lose it sort of scenario.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. That's pretty cool, man. I have no idea that was even a thing or that you did that at all. So that's a pretty interesting
fun fact.
Oh,
interesting part of life. Yeah. We'll kind of get on ish topic. On the topic ish.
Oh, yeah.
So kind of like a little fitness here for everybody listening to the 10th episode of The Weight Room. I think one thing that we were kind of curious about was how the military prepared you for the green industry, or
just the military, like the fitness tests you had to do in the military, anything like that, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there's a two-part, I think, answer for it that I have, because my knee-jerk reaction is that it trained me for the physical part of it mentally as well as physically. So being able to just deal with hot days and things like that, and just being out there and doing something, you're like, yeah, we just got to get it done, that part. So there's that mental part of it that kind of goes hand in hand with the physical thing. But then it also, the training of, hey, you need to stay active was the biggest part of it. It's military. It wasn't like, oh, I have to do 100 push-ups a day because that's what I have to do. It wasn't like that scenario. It was and with my job, I mean, you guys have seen me when we've seen each other in different meetings and stuff like that, on Zoom and stuff. I'm currently about 30 pounds lighter than I was in the military. 40 pounds. give or take, because I'm at about 170 right now, and I was about 210 when I was in the military, because we did a lot of, it wasn't just push-ups, sit-ups, run. It was push-ups, sit-ups, run in the morning and doing different exercises, but then there was also weight training involved in the afternoon.
Gotcha.
When we were stateside, or, if you were deployed, you find ways to make weights. And so we were always doing some kind of weight training as well. So that's the part that I think it helped me with the green industry, as far as staying fit and staying active, and then also being able to figure out ways to be able to do that if you don't have a gym to go to, which obviously right now, perfect way to do that, because it's hard in many places to go to a gym, and to make it happen.
Yep.
So it just has that mindset. It had that mindset of, hey, you need to stay active. Like, you can't be a slouch. You gotta keep it going. And I cut a lot of weight when I first got out, because I didn't have the reason to do that kind of workout anymore. I didn't need to bulk.
Yeah.
So I cut a lot of weight and went to more of just the running and cardio side of it, versus the bulk side. So
gotcha. Would you say
which is a weird aspect.
Would you say that you carried the fitness mentality of you need to be fit for survival almost, after the military? You still apply that in your day-to-day life?
Oh, absolutely. It's if you're not staying fit, then you're going to, and I almost want to say, if you're not staying fit, you're going to be weak. And I don't mean that as a
slam.
If you're not working out, you're a weak person or anything. It's that's just that subconscious mentality of, you need to stay strong in order to be the best person you can be to survive.
Right.
Yeah. So. I mean, honestly, when I'm in the gym and I'm lifting weights, and I don't really want to be there some days. I've told Daniel this, but I'll be doing something and I'll be like, I think I could hang off of a cliff for 10 minutes with my upper body strength, or I think I could lift this, and this, and I think I could survive life or death situations. Fitness isn't just about aesthetics, and I think military really implies, or, with the military and Navy and everything, you have to be fit to survive.
Yeah. You
got to do it.
How did the military kind of handle that side of it? Was it more of and it could be obviously different now, just different age, but how did they handle was it kind of a tough guy kind of scenario where it's who can lift the most, who can do this, who can do that? Or was it more of hey, let's do this the kind of in a smart way? I'm sure there was competition between the guys, but was there anybody there saying, hey, this is how you really do it, and do it the best way? Sure.
Yeah. No, that's a great question. Really good question. Before I got to my unit, it was more of a just, this is the workout, let's get it done and move on sort of scenario. So it was, now we're going to do push-ups, now we're going to do flutter kicks, now we're going to do this, and then we're going to go run in formation sort of scenario. When I got to my unit, and a lot of the units do that consistently, did anyway. Obviously I've been out for quite a while now, so I don't know if it's probably changed now more with weight training and stuff like that, just because back then it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't as big to do weight training when I was in, so most units were just doing, they would go and do their sit-ups and push-ups and run and that type of thing, jumping jacks, flutter kicks, and then go for the run. And then that would be the morning, PT, the physical training. When I got to my unit, that's when it changed to even just doing our regular morning thing. We actually trained more on distance running than we did just running so we never ran in formation. The only time we did it was if there was a special thing going on where everyone had to, run down the street because someone needed to feel special or something.
I get you. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
There was those times where you had to run in formation. Otherwise, we did not. We were one of the few that we would run 3 short runs and then 2 long runs a week. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday typically were 3 to 4 miles, and then Tuesdays and Thursdays we would run 7 to 9 miles. And it was cross country running. We would run, on the back roads of the base or wherever else. And it all came back to, you need to be fit. If you can't run because you're out of breath, then things are going to go downhill fast if things go downhill.
Yeah. That makes sense.
so it was a whole different mindset, and it was cool because then also there was a couple of guys that were into weight training, and so I kind of quickly jumped into that part of it, and I was fortunate enough to have a sergeant who was very big into weight training, not weightlifting, but weight training, and make that difference because he wasn't just trying to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was very into, you need to work this group and then this group and then these muscles, that type of thing.
Yeah.
To maximize your efficiency. So
I hear you.
So yeah, it was kind of I would say that in the special operations community, it's definitely more often than not the case. In other units, it kind of depends on the unit leadership as far as that part of it, as far as if there's someone, saying, hey, let's do this, let's make this happen, here's how you're supposed to do it. Otherwise, it was kind of on your own. The basic PT test for the military is kind of weird because that's what most units train for. So it's not like they're staying fit. They're doing physical exercise, but their goal was specific to the PT test because you had certain parameters you had to meet in the PT test in order to pass to continue to be in the military.
Gotcha.
And so a lot of units just did that, whereas we did in the special ops world, it was more of we're obviously going to train these specific things just because that way you know how to do them well. But then other than that, it's going to be, training for the other things of carrying, because our loudspeaker packs, fully combat ready as far as having, food, water, all the other things you need to have, and anything else. You're looking at about 115 pounds, 120 pounds.
Wow.
For the pack. And so, when you take that and you're like, okay, I'm going to take this and I'm going to hump it through the jungle for 15 miles.
That's a workout, man. That's ridiculously tough.
You got to be ready for it. And it's a dead weight too, because back then, I'm sure nowadays, I don't even want to know what they use nowadays for the batteries because I would just
cry.
I would hate them for it.
Yeah.
But back then we called them bricks because they were the size of a brick, and you had to have 3 of those per loudspeaker to make it function, and then you had to have 2 backups worth. So you were carrying 9 to 10 bricks.
Wow.
In your pack as well, and it was like carrying weight plates in your pack. It just, no matter how you shifted, it was always just this solid mass hanging on you. But I think that the idea of having conditioning trainers and having people that are focusing on that aspect of it would be an amazing idea. To have that as a thing where it's not just some oversight of, now all the Army will do this, but actually more focused on those actual individual units. And okay, this unit does, these are tankers,
right? Or
these guys are infantry or whatever,
specialized.
Let's make a workout routine specific to those guys because these are the muscles they're using most, and or these are the type of things that they're going through. So that would be amazing.
What you were saying about just kind of working out just to pass kind of a test it sounds like similar to the way that schools kind of do it now, to where they have all these standardized tests that you have to take throughout the year, and teachers are just teaching to that, and you're not really getting as much out of it as you could. It kind of sounds kind of similar as just people trying to meet standards and keeping their jobs and everything.
Yeah, in many ways it is. I mean, it's set up, they've set it up that way, so it's kind of a no-win situation when it comes down to it, as far as for anybody who's not mentally there. And see, I think that's the part that the military misses on, or at least when I was missed on. The getting the mental fortitude of working out was not there. It was you have to work out because I'm screaming at you to work out, or in the case of like basic training, and then you got to your unit, it was like, okay, everyone gathers, and then you get into a formation and you lay on the ground and you do flutter kicks until whoever's in charge that day says to stop.
Yeah, whoever's the last one.
It's like no one really. Everyone's just, all you're focused on is like, are we done yet? Are we done yet? You're not focused on, this is making me better, and so you don't have that love. You don't have that love for the fitness that you should.
Yeah, that makes sense.
At least in my mind. Yeah,
if you tell somebody why, then they kind of can appreciate it and work harder at it themselves.
And if you mix it up a little bit,
Yeah.
I mean, if you know that going into it, you wake up at 5, 6 in the morning, 4 in the morning, whatever it is, where, depending on your unit, and and you know that you're going to spend the next hour doing push-ups, sit-ups, and flutter kicks, and then going for a run. It's kind of like it just rolls on and on.
Yeah, yeah, that's crazy. That makes sense though. You said something about kind of having that the love for like the fitness side of it, and growing it throughout the military. How do you think that is now in the green industry? Like, how do you think that the fitness is perceived in the green industry, whether that be with the young guys, the old guys, middle-aged guys? Do you think it's seen as kind of a unnecessary thing, or do you think people are starting to appreciate that?
I think from what I've seen in the time that especially in the last few years, where I've really been kind of hyper-focused on the green industry and, looking at becoming a green industry social media nerd as far as following everyone I can and everything else.
Yeah.
I think that, excuse me, that the fitness part of the green industry is something that needs to change drastically, because there are a lot of guys and girls out there that are hurting themselves every single day because they're trying to quote unquote tough it out, or they're just doing what they do because that's their job, and things that could easily be solved if they actually focused on their personal fitness. Because I think too many people in the green industry assume that since they're pushing a mower all day or throwing a shovel, that's working out. And so why would they need to do any kind of workouts? That's kind of what I see right now happening. And it's bad because you have people who are in their 30s and 40s who have bodies like they're 70.
Yeah.
Because when you're young, you're just like, yeah, I'll grab this and I'll throw these pavers over here without using the thing that I could use that would,
right,
make it easier, or using body mechanics, or just like, I'll bend over at the waist because I don't care about bending at the knees.
Yeah.
Those type of things. I mean, I think it's something that you would see landscapers survive in the industry physically a lot longer if they took care of their fitness better.
Yeah.
Yeah, is there part of like a continuing education within the green industry? Do you know?
I mean, I know there have like, for specific, if you have like certifications or licensing, then yeah.
It'd be cool if somehow you could get like movement and like what me and Daniel do on the pump station, just like stretching and warm up, like something like that involved in these continuing educations, because you're not going to continue shit if your body won't let you do it.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, you're absolutely spot on, Holly. I mean, seriously, that's why what I was talking about, the mentality part of the military that followed me through to my entire life. That specific to the green industry part of it is that I know that if I don't take care of myself, I can't do my job.
Right. So I have a question.
Well, obviously I just did. I spent the last week, one-armed basically because of a stupid mistake. So.
Yeah.
Right. What would you say like your current fitness level is? Like just how much do you work out on, let's just say, a weekly basis?
Oh man, you're gonna put me on the spot.
On the spot.
On the spot.
And we'll find out if you're lying. We're gonna send a drone.
I know. Like, I know Liz is going to listen to this podcast and she's going to call me out for any misstep that I make. I don't work out as much as I should. I'll give you that right now. I probably do. I would say, okay, so workout versus stretching right now in my routines daily would be about 70-30.
Okay.
So 70 stretching, 30.
Honestly,
physical.
I don't really
work.
see anything wrong with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's better that it's 70-30 that way than the other way, really, but just simply because
and
that's keeping you in.
The thing is, the 70%, and I mean, are you incorporating the job that you do in that 30%? Because to me, your job is physical activity. It's how you prepare for that activity for the 70% that really is going to keep you in that job in the industry you're in.
For sure. Yeah, no, totally. I do very little like outside of workout. Right now I do more in the winter time, as far as, because I don't work as much during the winter time, obviously, landscaping stuff. So, so it kind of switches a little, but during the high season, like right now, I mean, I do like for instance, when I mow the property, cause it's all push mower, when I mow the property, it's up and down 30% grades, because we have a bunch of hiking and walking trails that I have to mow. And I do about 10.5 miles of mowing in a given day when I do the property. And so then we don't have a sprinkler system. So we have the big tripod sprinklers that we set up, that go around and we have to set. And so we drag hundreds of feet of hose all over the property, setting those. And so on it, like if I'm doing those, that's 3 to 4 sprinklers set up at the same time. So I'm literally 8 hours. All I'm doing is moving sprinklers all the time and pulling hose. So there's a lot of different, and when I do it though, I'm always like when I pull the hose, I'm like back straight, shoulders back. Like, like I make it into a workout basically, during the day.
That's smart. I mean,
me and Daniel were talking, I think it was last week on Pump Station, how you have a gym in your job. Just because you're not in the gym using barbells and dumbbells doesn't mean you're not working out.
Yeah,
that's why we're not telling you to go work out, like on the Pump Station. It's just, let's stretch before you go work out in your job. Like you get it all in one. You don't have to pay for a gym membership, take time after work. You got it all in one. So definitely take advantage of it.
Especially when you do it the way that you're talking about, with actually like
a push mower,
thinking about good form and thinking about, how can I turn this simple, like everyday thing that I do every day into, I mean, that's basically you're doing, pulling in a hose. You're just doing kind of like a row. So I mean, hundreds of foot of rowing. I mean, that's a heck of a workout in a day.
And something I started doing too is I how you have those little those caps that you can put on a hose. It's just like a screw cap that fits over the one end to close it off. Yeah. So what I started doing is I have one of those in my pocket on the days that I do watering, and when I disconnect it from the sprinkler at the far end, I'll put that cap on there, and so that way when I'm pulling the hose in, I actually pull it all the way in first, and then I drain the hose, so it's full of water when I'm pulling it in.
Dang,
that's something I just started doing recently to kind of add to it. Yeah,
adding resistance.
Yeah, I mean,
that's a pretty smart little variation.
You got to do, you got to do different things. Like one of my weird quirky things that every once in a while a guest will, usually I do it early enough in the morning where guests aren't, because there's cabins. So the property that I maintain is 10 different cabins. They're luxury cabins. So they're super nice, like jacuzzi tubs and all that kind of things. But there's 3 what we call upper cabins that go up a steep gravel walkway through the property to get to. And in the morning when I first get there, one of the things I do is I walk around just to check and see if there's any like fallen branches or, what I need to work on that given day, things like that. And with a cup of coffee. And when I do that, when I walk up that pathway, I actually do lunges up the pathway while I'm checking out the scenery. So it's kind of that's another thing I do, just a random thing, which I've gotten laughed at a couple of times where all of a sudden I hear this laughter and I look over and someone's on their porch, with their cup of coffee.
That's funny. That's a really good idea.
Yeah, get it in. And you can get it in.
Exactly. And it helps for me. That's part of my stretching routine, because that helps my hips and my knees and everything. I don't do like full out, like hardcore lunges. It's more of like a stretching lunge. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Yeah. What would you say is a struggle for you, or something that you think a lot of guys in the green industry struggle with living a healthy lifestyle while in the green industry? Do you go up and down?
I'd say nutrition first and foremost. That's a big one.
You just like knew that right off the bat. What makes you say that so confidently right off the bat?
Because most days my breakfast is a cup of coffee, and then my lunch is a cup of tea, and then right before my show at night, because I go straight through. I get up in the morning, and get off to work, and then right after work, I'm on my way to my show. I usually grab a beef stick from the store, like one of those like just long beef sticks from the gas station thing. So my first true meal of the day isn't usually until about 8 o'clock at night.
Wow.
That's like I said, that's my personal one. And I see a lot of guys at the stop and go and things like that, and they're grabbing burritos out of the hot case.
Yeah.
And that's their meal and stuff. So I would say nutrition is first and foremost the biggest issue right now as far as whole body health in the industry.
Yeah, we did a thing on Pump Station about that very thing, and kind of talked about a little bit of how we can incorporate meal prepping into your night before. So you have those things that as you're walking around to your job site, you pick some out of your pocket, and it's a good healthy snack that, you know, may not fill you up too much, but it's something that gets you through until lunch. And those small things can really
I was just going to say, because of you guys, I have trail mix now.
There you go. See, that's good.
And some fresh veggies that I carry in one of those little, you know, cooler things, like some carrots and celery and just some things to just munch on and
that's awesome.
Keep going. So
that's awesome.
Because I listen to your podcast.
Yeah.
I listen to your podcast. So.
I'm glad we reached at least one person out there.
One person. Yeah.
Yeah. No, and it does. It has been helping me like tremendously. Like I've just been obviously doing it a couple of days. But like yesterday I had some cashews, and then I had, what was the other? There was something else I had too that I had grabbed. Oh, some yogurt. That's what it was.
Yeah. That's funny because those are things that I have on a daily basis too. It's kind of funny that you went for the same kind of things. It's just like there's things that are good for you out there that are also, you know, taste good to eat, and it's not an expensive thing to do, and it's not all this that you make it out to be whenever you actually sit down and think about it and go do it. A meal prep can be so simple and just really can change your whole day around.
Yeah.
The only time that I really complain about meal prep is when I've forgotten to do it. That's it.
Because then you got to rush around and do it.
When it's 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm like, I don't have time for this. I mean, technically I do. It's just that I don't have the mentality for it.
Right.
That's the difference.
Right.
You always have time. It's the mentality that you don't have.
Exactly. That's very true.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's about creating, like you said earlier, what we talked about earlier, giving people the knowledge to understand why it's important, and then the mentality changes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think off of that, what would be like your biggest hack for just day-to-day, like a life hack for someone in the green industry that maybe they're looking to make a change to make something easier? What would be? Yeah,
like what's something that you do on a daily basis that's
nutrition, yoga.
It's like, oh man, this changed everything whenever I started doing it.
Meditation.
Yeah.
Cool.
When did you start doing that? Have you been doing that?
Absolutely, 120%.
Do you do that in the morning or night? And how long have you been doing that?
Well, so meditation-wise, I've been doing for on a daily basis since 94, 95, somewhere in there. So, 25 years, give or take.
Wow.
And I do it multiple times throughout the day. So and I think there's, especially in our industry, as you guys know, it is a very male-centric industry. It's getting more and more women every day, which is awesome as far as being out there in the field and things. But it's like any of the construction or, type jobs or contractor jobs where it's always been, more guys. And so you have that weirdness that guys have of, they hear the word meditation and they're like,
Yeah.
Whereas, and that's where I'm like, guys, like women have had it like dialed in for so long.
Yeah. They figured it out. They're not afraid
yoga,
to do
meditation,
it.
all the other things. Like, listen to them. They raise children. They're the ones who are able to give birth because nature did not trust guys to do so.
Exactly.
They are the top. So, and the reason I say is just because there's that stigma I think that guys have. Because I know a lot of women in the industry who do meditation all the time. Because I've talked to a lot of them, and they do meditation, whereas guys not so much. And it's something that I think a stigma that we need to break, because I do meditation throughout the day, not just like in the morning or at night, to answer your question, Holly. I do it multiple times throughout the day, and I'm not sitting with my legs crossed with my hands on my knees, like making weird sounds. That's not.
That's not meditation. It doesn't have to be. That's your form. Great.
Yeah. If that's what you do and that's what you learn, I'm cool with that. I'm not making fun of it or anything by any means. It's just that's not that. A lot of people think that's what it has to be.
Right, I agree.
That's not what it has to be. It's, for me, my particular form of it or style, whatever you want to call it, has evolved over the years. and it's always changing. Sometimes it's a matter of I'll go back to the hose thing. So if I'm trying to pull 200 feet of hose, and at the 150 mark, just as I'm getting into it, it gets caught on a rock somewhere way at the far end, and I have to trudge all the way down the hill. It's easy to get angry about that and try and pull on it and yank on it, even though I know it's not going to come free.
Yeah.
Right.
So I take a moment, I drop everything. I literally drop everything, drop my arms to my sides, tilt my head back, and take 3 deep breaths in and out. That's it. Takes like 30 seconds.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's what I was gonna.
Resets me.
That's what I was gonna say. There's this stigma, like you said, around it, where you need to take 30 minutes and you need to cross your legs and hands in the air, like making noises, and it could literally be in the truck between jobs, like just taking a few deep breaths to yourself, and whether it's listening to music you like rather than listening to the radio with everybody else, I just think
listening to Pump Station, those type of things.
yeah,
Yes.
exactly. If we're what meditates you, then listen
That's awesome.
to it. Perfect. But yeah, there's just this thing that meditation is also like yoga, where you have to be moving your body. And that's not the case at all. Meditation is just focusing on your breathing and getting yourself back in line with your mind. And
I think that there is still, I agree with you. But I think there's a slight, for me anyway, there's a slight inclusion of body movement, because for me, meditation also has a form of controlled movement of the body. So like for instance, when I'm breathing, that's my controlled movement. I'm not doing downward dog, but my chest, I'm focused on how long it's taking me to expand my chest and how long it's taking me to contract it. So there's still a bit of controlled movement, which I think is what helps for me anyway, helps the focus part of it. Because the other thing that I deviate on with meditation is, and this is from when I learned meditation, it was from Zen Buddhism. This is where I learned to meditate. I traveled overseas in the military and studied it. I was able to study at some monasteries in Thailand, which is amazing. It was an amazing bit of the journey for me. And when I started following Buddhism as a philosophy, I do not consider Buddhism a religion, because even Buddha himself said this is not a religion. This is a way to live your life.
A lot of things that say that.
Yeah, so it's definitely a philosophy. In fact, actually, I was in a monastery in Tibet. Ran into a Catholic priest who told me straight out that Buddhism makes him a better Catholic.
Wow,
so
that's pretty cool.
It's all about the philosophy of it, and I totally got off on a tangent there. But the reason I brought it up is because there's, like we're saying, like sitting there and meditating and doing the other things, and a lot of the forms of meditation say you have to clear your mind, no thoughts, just live in the space. But the problem with that is that then you're suppressing things. And the Buddhism I follow is, by the way, is Benki. It's Bankei. He was a Buddhist teacher in the mid to late 1600s in Japan and China. And he was a rogue. So I guess that's why I gravitated towards him to begin with.
Yeah. Rebel.
But he totally, like, people were against him and all these other things, because he was like, hey, let the thoughts come up. Just don't give them any justice. Like, let them go as they come up. If you're angry, go ahead and understand that anger, like, you're like, I'm angry at this. And then you're like, but it's okay to be angry at that. And then it goes away. It's okay to have those thoughts come up. You're not supposed to clear your mind. You're supposed to, that's the time to allow your mind to just
process a little,
get through things. Yeah. To be able to.
I'm going to have to look into that. That's interesting. Because I'm all about that. Like, allow yourself to feel your emotions. There's no shame in feeling emotions. They're emotions and they're normal. And if you don't feel them in the moment, then you're going to feel them all at once, and it's not going to be good.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's exactly. And I have a big issue with that. I mean, like, me personally, like, I struggle. That's my biggest struggle is keeping things follow up. Even now, I mean, 25 years later down the road, and I'm still working on it, but,
right.
But it's one of those things where the military, unfortunately, one of the bad parts of the military is that that was like, you don't have emotion, you don't have this, you don't have that. You know,
Right. Remove yourself from situations, kind of thing.
You got to push that. You know, and in my job, it was the psychological warfare side of it was you're focused on the other person's emotions, and so you can't let your own go because you have to figure out what makes them tick to make them turn the way you want to. You know, so it's definitely. I mean, it is amazing how much it helps just to be able to. In fact, I came up with my own little side thing in the sense. Hopefully, this is not too much of a divergence from what we're talking about, but it has to do with meditation. But my favorite thing is, I've talked on my show a couple of times, is find 5 things. It's something that I came up with a few years ago. And what it is for me is that when you start feeling, especially if you start feeling frustration or, you know, anger or any of those other things that are the bottled up, quote unquote, explosion type things. It can also be crying, you know, like if you feel depressed, where you're just going to start bawling, and sometimes that's okay. I mean, you know, if you need to let it out, obviously. But the way that I work through it is that I will walk outside if I have the ability to walk outside, best case scenario, and I'll find 5 similar things. So like rocks. If I'm looking for, I'll just go for a walk, and if I see a rock that catches my eye, I'll pick it up and I'll stop and I'll do the same thing. Arms to the side, tilt my head back, hold on to that rock, and as I'm feeling that rock in my hand, I have my eyes closed and I think of an amazing memory from my past, whether it was the best ice cream I've ever eaten or the birth of one of my children, whatever it may be in that moment, but whatever comes first, I think about that. And while I'm thinking about that, I do slow breathing for at least a minute, just in and out, and just reliving that awesome moment in my head. And I set the rock back down, continue walking, and I do that until I find 5 different things to remind me of awesome times. And by the time you've done that, it's basically retraining your brain, because by the time you've done that, you forget what was happening in the first place, because your body is now, not only your mind is relaxed, but your body is relaxed because you've been deep breathing for a good 15 to 20 minutes, you know, depending on how long it takes.
Yeah.
I really
pretty
like
cool.
that.
Yeah. Just the fact that you kind of came up with that on your own, and was pretty cool.
Yeah. And it can be rocks. It can be a flower. It can be, you know, whatever it is that you kind of have to search a little bit for is kind of the idea of it, because it takes, you know, that way your focus is more on something else.
Right. So like we usually end our podcast show, whatever this is, I don't know. With like leaving the people with a challenge. So I think that's a really good challenge to leave people with next time you're feeling some type of way about whatever it is. Overwhelmed by some type of emotion. Yeah. Feel that emotion, but like Hecubus said, find 5 things. Yep. I think I'm gonna have to start doing that. Thank you for that.
Yeah, well, you can do it anytime too. It doesn't have to be, you know, as far as like if you want to try it out, just randomly, like, hey, I'm gonna go try this, and just give it a try, because I'm telling you, you will feel so much more relaxed, and like so much more, like your clarity will be heightened of just being in the moment. So
just being more aware. Fun. I like that. Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah. And if you would like to kind of shout yourself out, whatever you have going on, you know, shout out your social medias, your shows, whatever, just to kind of let the people know.
Oh man, all my social media. Okay, so this is going to take at least 30 to 45 minutes. So the main ones would be, as far as getting a hold of me or seeing what I'm doing, the main one is my Instagram, which is nightcap_Hecubus, HECUBUS, nightcap_Hecubus. That one is my show Instagram, so that's where I post my videos that you guys have seen and stuff like that, and all the craziness that is the bunker.
right.
For the show. And then, you know, anybody can follow me on Facebook. It's Russell Owens on Facebook. I think it's Owens.71 as far as like if you're doing the actual like the browser thing, because there's a few other Russell Owenses on the planet. I'm not sure how that works, but
there's at least 2.
And then my show every Monday through Friday, 5 to 7 Pacific, 8 to 10 Eastern on Tursip Radio, of course. And I just started covering the Great Grass Race. So if you guys have not checked that out, please do.
Yeah.
It's some awesome thing to watch. Awesome thing to binge watch.
Yeah. Is it? How do you can you physically watch it somewhere?
Yeah, it's on. If you were to go, like, if you were to search on YouTube, it'll come up, like the teasers will come up.
Yeah.
They don't actually have the episodes on YouTube, but the teasers will come up. But if you want to watch the episodes and all the other stuff they do, they actually have their own app / channel. It's called Menace, as in Dennis the Menace, so MENACE, so menace.vision. So if you type menace.vision into any browser anywhere, including your phone, it'll pull up their channel. But then they also have an app for phones that you can download that's free and everything that works as a video player, kind of like Tearsub works as a music player, or, as an audio player. So is it cool if I ask you guys a question real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You're the radio host. You have to ask a single question.
I know it's hard for me not to ask questions. So I'm like, this is your podcast. I don't want to
No, go ahead.
ask questions. But the question I had for you is what keeps each of you motivated what do you use to motivate yourself when you get out of bed? Is it a different thing every day, or is it like, what gets you into that? Like, because Holly, you mentioned back earlier that at one point that, you're like, oh man, I do not want to like work out today. Like, I don't want to do this. Like, what process do you guys go through to either go ahead and work out, and make it, or do you say, okay, this isn't going to happen today because I'm not mentally ready for it, so I'm going to do something else instead? Like, what happens there?
Right. So, I would just say on a day-to-day, like, getting out of bed for me is just, this is such a cliche, like, phrase that I heard from somebody I follow. But it's literally, it's a beautiful day to be alive, and, like, a bad day is still a luxury. So, like, no matter how I'm feeling, like, just whatever I'm feeling, I'm going to, like, validate it, but I'm not going to let it, like, roll my day, and I'm going to move on with my day. And as far as, like, working out and just staying motivated to even just, like, study on a day-to-day, another really cliche thing is my mom. Like, she keeps me motivated, like, her not being able to do certain stuff makes me want to do it for her sake. And not even just her, but being so close to a situation like this. Just anybody that isn't able to do what they wish they could be doing. So I kind of do it for that reason. But also my motivation obviously comes from just wanting to be better and do better for myself, for my future type of thing. I would say, like, being able to do what I love to do motivates me so much. And then just simply that plays into being alive, but then also just knowing that I'm gonna feel better afterwards, just like when you meditate throughout the day, like, you just feel better. So yes, it's gonna take a minute out of your day. It feels better after, like, your whole day goes way better after that minute. Yeah, it goes way better than if I watched 15 minutes of Netflix. So right, or if you just dwelled on whatever was happening.
Yeah,
for sure.
What about
you, Dennis?
So for me, it's kind of a simple thing, but kind of the way I work best is in a lot of structure. Like, I like to have a plan. I like to know what's going to happen. I like to get on a routine, and so for me. The way I like to do something is I'll, like, especially for like a workout or something, I'll schedule out my workouts from now till December. So.
Oh, okay.
So I like to schedule it out, and I write out every single thing I'm going to do every day, and including, like, the weights I want to do and for every single workout until, like I said, December. And that keeps me motivated to say, I have to go in today, and I want to go in today, because whenever I do this weight, it's going to allow me for the next exercise or the next workout to be able to do the next weight down. So it's kind of like keeps me structured, and it keeps me motivated to say, I have a plan, and if I work this plan, it's all going to work out in the end. And sometimes it doesn't, but then that's when I can kind of say, okay, what can I do different on this next one? And it kind of keeps everything as like a learning experience for me. And, like I said, I've set certain goals in the past that I didn't reach, but it has been a learning experience saying, okay, maybe I didn't reach this goal because of this, and now I need to incorporate this into my daily routine or my exercise routine.
Okay. So you set out those long-term like plans, but then it fluctuates as you go depending on what you need to tweak.
Yeah. And it's kind of funny because my best friend, he's like, you would do great in prison. And I was like, why do you say that? He's like, because you have, I'm the person that has literally 20 alarms set throughout the day. He was like, you have so many alarms set throughout the day that like, you would just hear the little thing that opens the door and you would know what to do. Like you would hear this and you would know what to do.
Right, yeah.
And I have my day like scheduled, and it's not that I like always keep that schedule, but I just like to have that set out just so I know where my day's going to go. And I also feel like
peace of mind that knowing that you can lean back on it if you need to.
Yeah. And I think that opens my mind to be more creative and become more of a problem solver, because I don't have to think about what I'm going to do right now. I can think about what I'm going to do if this goes wrong, or if this happens, what I can do, or like I can solve more problems because I don't have to think about the problem that's sitting here right in front of me, because I already solved that, the day before when I wrote down what I was going to do.
Wow. Look at you go.
That's just kind of...
I think that has to be like a family thing. I think that's the way our brains are structured, because I am absolutely the same way. I hate going into a day and not knowing where my day is going. And like...
I love that idea.
Last minute plans are like usually not for me. I need at least a day to mentally and physically prepare to see people.
I'm not that bad with it.
I love the way you phrase it, Daniel. Yeah, I love it. You both work out way more than I do. Way more than I do. Because obviously you're doing it as a job and a love of passion for the industry, for the fitness industry, as well as the green industry, because you're trying to help people there. What playlist do you have? Do you specify them? Like, Holly, if you're doing a leg day, do you have a specific playlist for, like, I'm doing leg day versus if you're working shoulders? You know what I'm saying? Like, or do you just have certain songs that motivate you for the workout regardless?
I have like a weightlifting playlist, which conveniently it's called The Weight Room, but I swear I came up with that playlist name before this podcast was ever dreamed of. And then on like cardio days, it's different. Some cardio, I feel the vibe for cardio, because some days it's like cardio is super slow, so I listen to podcasts. Some days I do music. But weightlifting is definitely like rap and like getting me hype, like dancing music, stuff like that.
Gotcha. You got some Eye of the Tiger on there?
Actually, no, but I really might have to add that.
That's good.
I try to keep it like a diverse playlist, like genre-wise, but it all just ends up being rap somehow.
That technology, it likes to funnel things for us. What about you, Daniel?
That's true. I don't really go by like what body part I'm doing for the day. It kind of just depends on, like, I wake up and have a song in my head. Some days I'll work out to like Merle Haggard. Some days I'll work out to like John Mayer. Some days I'll work out to
wait, did you say work out to John Mayer? How does that work? Like,
beautifully.
Like, how does that? I'm like trying to picture like myself, like if I wanted to lift, because I do like almost no weightlifting type stuff.
Yeah.
It's mostly all like cardio or like just like strength training versus like as far as like I don't do like deadlifts and things like that. But if I were to, I'm trying to picture which songs I would use, and I can't imagine a single John Mayer song that I would.
Well, okay. The live versions of his music do get like, if you like instruments and stuff like that, go to his like live at Nokia Theater, whatever it's called. And like the song Gravity, so good. Like the guitar solo on that, so good.
That makes sense.
Yes.
That makes sense.
I love like the bluesy sound of him. Like his blues. Oh my gosh, I love it.
Now Now I'm gonna have to purposely go work out today just so I can play that song.
Oh, bummer.
That's honestly sometimes the whole motivation. Like, is I can't wait to listen to this song, like these songs during my workout.
Right? Yeah,
it's funny.
I have certain tasks, like when I'm mowing, I have a certain playlist for mowing, because I'm like, okay, I need to keep pumped on this one because I'm going to be doing a lot of like 45, like where you're push a mower uphill, to where it's like you've got your body kind of with that weird Superman angle.
Yeah.
Your arms are straight out.
Gosh, hard
that kind of thing. So So there's different. I have a different playlist specifically for mowing because I can't do anything other than like just crazy, like insane. Most of it is actually international music. So most of the time I don't even understand what they're singing. But
really,
the
that's
beats
fun.
and the idea of it, like Icelandic music. I'm all about Icelandic music.
Somebody told me that was really good, but I've never listened to it.
Yeah, there's a song. I'll send you guys a song. I played it on my show a couple of times that Liz shared with me that she really liked, and it's from an Icelandic band who I would have to pull up to not completely murder the name of the band. So I'll send it to you guys. But
yeah, that'd be cool.
Really good music. That and Mongolian.
Okay.
Rock.
Yeah, somebody told me about that too. Maybe I just heard this from you, but like I definitely just heard about those two things.
Yeah, you have to
recently.
look up for Mongolian rock. It's the Who. So HU.
Okay.
The Who.
Not
they
the WHO.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
totally different. Totally different sounds. But they've got some, like, you guys would love it for, I'm sure, like, it would, if you want to get pumped up for working out, especially Holly, if you want, like, something other than rap, go for the Who.
I'll have to look that up.
I'm going to have it blaring in here.
Yeah, I'll send you guys, like, a few different samples of some of the music I use for when I'm like, okay, I need to get hyped, I need to pump through this and work through this, because I keep thinking of names, and I'm like, man, it literally is all international.
That's funny.
Whatever works.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever gets you motivated. It doesn't have to be one specific thing. That's for sure. Other than Pump Station and you guys, I mean,
right, that
you
has
guys
to be.
literally do keep me motivated throughout the day.
Yeah.
I see you guys working out during the day. Like I said, I'll skim through social and I'll see every single time I go through it. I see both of you working out, and I'm like, so it's 24/7. Like they never stop.
Yeah, that's so true. Though, if I'm not working out, I'm like doing something with fitness. So
yeah, and it keeps me motivated for sure, because it's like anytime I do it, it's like I'll stop for a water break or whatever. I'm like, man, today is going on forever. I'm so tired. I'm like, oh, well, Daniel's deadlifting and Holly's doing some bicep curl. I guess I can get back to work. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Man, that's funny.
I was just trimming some shrubs. Like they're lifting weights. You guys have a good day. I'm going to go to the store because I just realized I actually have to buy the things to make the biscuits and
right.
gravy. So.
All right. Well, have a good Friday. Have a good weekend, and we'll talk to you later.
Absolutely. Keep on keeping on, brother and sister.
You See ya. Bye.
All right. That is the episode 10 of the Pump Station.
No, the weight room.
The weight room.
We have too many things going on with.
Is it actually the weight room? I don't know.
I don't know what we're on anymore.
This is episode 10 of the weight room. And we out.
Peace.